Hello and welcome. Today is Saturday, the 10th day of March 2018. Like always, everything within your own risk and your own reward. And there's been a lot of delistings amongst Bittrex over the last 24 hours, with Capricorn CPC being one of them. I had positions in two of them, this as well as Project Decorium, PDC, and I was not in any of the other ones. So we take a look at this. You're always going to get the major decline. Now for myself, I try to check active movers as often as I can. So I usually don't miss too many of these, although I was informed by Chris Daniels about PDC before I had, well, he was the one that told me, and I was able to get it at a decent price compared to where it fell. On this one, we look at this on a 5-minute time frame. There's one big move, and that was over a 1-minute period. And there's been a decent rally. Look at the difference from where it goes to 1659 up to 3000, almost a doubling. Since then, over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes or such, it has lost about 20% just from here down to here. I got it around 44. So I got it right as it was just announced. And I was fortunate to be able to get out at that price. And what I like to do to determine, there's a couple measures. I use TradingView, and I'm going to scroll the screen over to show you my watch list, which is a lot of codes. So there's my watch list on the right-hand side. So I can sort it by symbol, which I oftentimes have to when I'm just looking at codes on an alphabetical level, but we can see there are a fair amount in here. Capricorn was on this list, but I did delete it. I no longer will be trading this one. But percentage change, I can sort by such. So there's the big losers amongst the ones I have, and there really isn't any big ones. So we have Burst, NXS, which I'm trying to buy back, but it's still a lot cheaper. SLS saying it's got to go down a lot more, because I'll just click on this. Let's put it on to the daily time frame. Even the 400 would probably be sufficient, but yeah, I can't be buying that there. It's got to go down a lot more, because I managed to sell at the upper end, and I need to have prices go lower. So this is the losers over the last little while. Again, nothing too big when you're looking at 5%, 6%, and 7% down. But nothing too big when your top one is like 11%. Feathercoin, this is of interest to me because this must be new. Yeah, exactly. Hang on, I have to pause the tape. And within such, I'm going to need to give myself an alert on this, as I can get a decent deal if the price action gets above here. So this is what I like to do. I see something new is breaking out. On the smaller exchanges, I can be buying for around 3,000 right now. But at this stage, at 31, I need a better gain. Let's continue on with the list. And Fair was one that had this very interesting move. I regret not taking an intraday swing trade for what would have been better gain than what I got, as I was really thinking, you know what, there's a price got up here really fast to sell up right at the like 54. I'm like, how do I not sell a little bit here and try to buy it back? I'm saying to myself, well, you have to be fast in this business, because it wasn't long before the price was already down to 51. And well, in the situation here, had I been able to sell at around 54, even 55, I would have been able to, of course, buy back at about under 5,000, 4,800-ish. And that's a gain of about 12%, which for a very short-term scalp is pretty darn near good. All right then, so let's continue on with some of these other coins. But within this pattern, we got the formation of a double bottom. that is basically two U's or two V's. So it breaks down support starting with this big red candle down on February the 20th, and it manages to find support basically above this line, although it did pierce below and buy orders got filled at 4,000. And with one attempt here that failed, but the main one on the 4th of March coming up to this level and then back close to support a couple days below the 18 average of lows, and now it's had this move up towards this point. Okay. If it's able to break the neckline, I would be very much not shocked if major further gains were to come there after that. I'm going to remove this on the right hand side very soon. But on Bittrex, there is two ways in which I look at the winners and losers, because this one is for the day or since 7 p.m. Eastern time. But from Bittrex, it's always going to be the last 24 hours, how much it has moved. So I can either go to my wallet setting on Bittrex and I can hide the zero balances. I don't even have to. I can see all the other coins, and I want to sort it by percentage change. And they'll show you the top winners and losers in order via that measure. I try to check that multiple times per day. And you can do that also by just on the home page. You go to BTC markets, Ethereum markets, and US dollar tether markets. You can sort those by that play. Okay, Feathercoin is crossing it. And we'll just move back on over to Feathercoin. Look at this on the 1 minute time frame. I was able just to buy at an average cost of about $30.50, $30.60. Not much, only like $25 worth. So I just got what I was able to get. And then we'll see if I can get at least 3,500 on this on a day trade. Okay, anyway, let's take a look at some of these other codes. But again, I just want to mention that this is a interesting thing as far as helping you decide which ones are big winners and losers, and then adjusting what you need to do based on such. I mean, codes like Core, it's not even down much at 7%. But another way of looking at this too is if you... Okay, what I'll do is I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. But if you sort this and then come back a half hour later, even 10 minutes later, as you were seeing close to at the start with Feathercoin, if you see on the scale in here how one percentage is completely out of whack within this scale, because the order is not going to change. It's going to stay within that order. So if you see something like up here, something around the -6s, if it says -11, -10, that means it just had a decent down move. But and on the contrary, if in the -6 area, if it says -2, -3, that means it had an amazing a move to, well, obviously the opposite direction. So there really isn't, because I've just recently sorted this in the last little while, there isn't much there. So I'll look back at that in a little bit. I'm going to now move this chart back to, or the screen, so that all you can see is the chart. So it's more of a 16:9. I'll do this now. And then I have it set so that you are looking at just the screen part of the section, which is what I usually do in most of my videos. So let's talk about some of the more bigger codes like NEM, XEM. This thing is trying to break out, and I got in at a decent price. Again, for the second time, I got in at this bottom. I got in here. That's not a decent price, but the last I bought was around 3,000. So I got in closer to this bottom level. This is its first test of the declining 18 since it broke down from such on February the 17th. This is the first time it has gotten above the 18 average of highs since January the 27th. And this would be the first time within this downtrend, if it can close above the 18 average of highs, that it would do that after getting above it, or even the fact that it would just close above it. The last close was on January the 9th. It gives you reasons to state that the downtrend's coming towards an end. And as I talk about this within the game, it's like a game. If you play the board game Risk, this is the perfect example, where one person goes, they do their turn, and they can do a lot on one turn, or they can do very little. They can make a big play or a small play, but they have to go in order. I guess Magic the Gathering, chess, and that's ways I look at it. It's been the bears in control of this market from January so far through now. Bears are still in control. Having this price action stay within this band for a little bit would be getting it a little neutral from the downtrend. But you know, at some point, eventually, the bulls are going to take over. It's been this way throughout history. As there was the downtrend here at the end of 2017. It ended at the start of December. So the bulls had their turn from December basically up till January. And then the bears have been in charge. Did the bulls take the dice on March the 4th? Well, the bottoms and tops are known after the fact. So we don't know that yet. But if it has a good move higher, we'll know yes. And of course, if it breaks down lower, we'll know that no. And even beforehand, you have situations where the bears have a turn. The bulls have a pretty poor turn here. And then, of course, after that, the bears had a really good turn. Before that, look at the good turn the bulls had last year. I mean, this is just a fantastic turn by dub bulls. And dub bears. That's a Saturday Night Live skit from the superfans of the 1980s, starring George Wentz, the late Chris Farley, Mike Myers, and I think another couple guys. Okay, throwing that aside, there's the bears having their turn at the end of 2016. And when I talk about failed move, fast move, it's just so obvious to see, so I'm going to point it out. Failed move, fast move lower. But didn't do anything after that. It worked for one play. So if you were seeing in here, ooh, yeah, it comes up to this level, back down to the 18 like this, and now consolidating with the 18 of lows. That's weak. So you shouldn't be surprised that a move like this were to occur. And it's a winning sale if what you did with the sale worked out. It could have went to a different code, and that's great and fine if it worked out. But if you sold in here and bought back any time in here or here, then you would have gotten a better deal. And that's why I like to pick, okay, down target. I probably would have been like, yeah, right around here would have been my buyback if I'm going to sell the failed move, fast move, because when I look at this, I'm going to remove the drawings on here. When I look at the failed move, fast move that was playing out, and I need the line in here. Let me put a horizontal ray in. That was a key level of support, especially after it stayed above there for a while. So when you were looking at this November 20th, anywhere from November 18th through the 21st, 22nd, you're like, yeah, that's pretty weak. Then you have your decision to make at 400. Is that good enough for you? You would come up to this little band in here, the previous level, and it falls down. 2 waves lower. At this stage, at 300, 400, if you're getting out at like 530, now you're starting to talk about getting a decent gain. And of course, if you even were to take, like, say, 372, there is nothing wrong with taking that kind of a price. And then if you waited for this thing to show strength, then you were waiting to buy pretty much right around that line at 500. So selling here and buying back here was really a no event situation. I'm going to move this back because it looks like Faircoin's doing pretty good. And this means a lot for me too, so I might have to pause the tape, although I shouldn't have to. Because we can see 13, 18, 12. Okay, so this means short term, this thing is doing well. 3-minute time frame, well, it's moved up from this 46 to 48, so yes. Anything else of note? G-Byte. It seems a little higher, so I'm guessing it's short-term time frame. There we can see a small move. Anything else of note? There's Doji that went from 0 to +2. That was interesting because it should only be moving, or it should be moving 0.5% at a time. Anyway, let's just see some of these other ones. So MUI, monetary unit, not that big of a code exchange, so that's why some of those are pretty irrelevant. Unbreakable, there's 3.7% down near the break-even points. So there we can see that makes sense. There's the short-term move. Looking down at some of these losers, any discrepancies? I mean, this one here, the ADX, has had just a very tiny gain. It's barely noticeable, but it's had a tiny gain. And XCP, counterparty. It's went up a couple percent in the last little bit. And it's on like basically one move. And that's within these types of markets. The ones that have very low volume are vulnerable to playing into the getting delisted stage. I did, however, remove Geo, TRST, SPR, and BRK today, because those were codes that I had, and I was looking at all the lower volatility ones, the ones, should I get in, should I get out? And I decided with those ones I'm not going to take any more. I'm not going to take that risk and then just allocate those funds to some other coins, which I haven't seen yet what I want to buy. I'll figure that out through the weekend. But this one here, I have just loved its up and down movements that I just cannot... I cannot decide... I still want to play this. There is a lot of risk, because if this thing is a really bad coin for whatever reason, then it could be just like Capricorn and all the other ones that got delisted. And I don't know why they get delisted, but I do realize that if they're traded in low volume, they come in with all of the big risk. We just take a look at Litecoin now, because it's something I haven't seen in an hour or two. Price is 187 at 1.9%. The Bitcoin price hanging in there at 2. And again, yesterday I was thinking I could have made a better trade, because I thought about selling more Bitcoin, or Litecoin rather, for Bitcoin at the top. And there's a lot of lines on here, but they do help me out a lot. 5 minutes is too short. Up around this 206, 207 level, I'm like, oh man, I know I can get an easy scalp. I know it can be done. And I probably would have got the scalp back at the 2 number. But I thought about it. However, I do realize that this thing is going to be ready to go. And what I like to do long term with this is just type in this and find this on a different exchange. Coinbase doesn't have as much. Poloniex has a lot of data, so this one works good. So my lines are gone this way. And when I'm looking at this long term, or if I just don't want to see them, that's what I'll have to do. Although I did have some of these drawing tools in here. I'll remove them. I get pretty pumped over setups like this. And when you notice where it came from in here, This is a situation where it just grinded its way lower, but for a long, long time. There was hardly any solid green candles on here. There was this one on, and then there was some solid 3 in a row here that got above the 18 average. And then a move like this. Because what I know with these cryptos is they're going to have its moves, but how is it going to correct its move? And in this case, it has a decent amount of up and down choppiness. The failed move down, and then back up to this range. But I love how for the whole time since this rally came in the middle of December, now spanning that of 3 months, that it is held and stayed above 165. Oh, but it went below it a few times. It has held and stayed above that. If it goes below it, then that's not going to stay lower. So that's when I would say levels like that. What is any areas that are extra are usually just very fast, very rare in time. So in a situation within this, the 18 average is rising beautifully. And movements higher, there's a lot of reason when you see something like this that you can get to some serious, great higher levels, especially when you see the moves like we've seen before. For me, my sell targets, I have 3 ranges I'm looking to go up to. The first one is around 0.036. Each range higher, I'm going to be more aggressive in how I sell. Then again, I'm going to be looking starting around 0.08, even 0.07 to 0.1. And then the final one, about 0.17, and I think it can get to the 0.2 mark. That would be the final aggressive sell. I would always leave some back just in case. But within major volatility, it would not surprise me the slightest if something like, and I'm going to put the lines in because it would be easier. So there's a line here. We'll put one up around here. And another one as well to go above the 0.2 handle. See, what would be ideal for me, and the market's always going to do what it's going to do. It breaks it, it hits a point like that. And then you'd be looking for it to come back to where it came from. And then when it gets there, it might settle and just go sideways for a bit. Maybe just little bits of decline, and then have maybe a fast move up to this point. And then maybe just do a bit of this, come back down here, and then just do something like that. If the market were to do any type of behavior within this nature, that would work out perfect for me because my buybacks priced in Bitcoin are most likely going to be these key areas. So if I sell at the 36, 37, I'm going to be looking to buy back at about 220. 217 even, back to this key major level of resistance. Selling at the 0.07 handle, and I mean little bits at every peak above, I'd be looking to buy back down towards here. It's not like the market has never done this before, or all the other coins, because they usually do. But even at the same point, when I get to these sell areas, what am I going to be buying back? Well, if I sell in these points, it's going to be the Bitcoin. But not all of that Bitcoin I'm going to hold on to. I'm going to be buying alternate coins with it. And then when the combination of either the altcoins going higher, decently of course, or Litecoin going lower will enable me to get the sale on them. So if I sell a little bit here, I might buy like 9 different altcoins. And then if the altcoin goes up like its own like 100%, 150% move, even a 60% move, and Litecoin prices remain stagnant, then I got a sell situation and I'll buy back Litecoin. Or really, if it were to come back down to here, that if the alternate coins are stagnant or barely going up, then that's going to work out because I'll end up having a profitable trade. Even if I were to say, sell Litecoin here, and then when a move like this were to happen, say I buy something like, I don't know, I'm just going to take a random code, like say Redcoin. Say I get Redcoin in and it's like 70. Yet this comes down and Redcoin is 67 or 68. So I'm kind of selling it at a small loss, but not really, because when I encounter the Litecoin trade, I would be getting a profitable one given the Litecoin price against such. So that's how I'm perceiving the Litecoin trade market as I move into the year. And thank you for tuning in, as this is now a longer video. Bye-bye.